يا إمام الرسل يا سندي أنت باب الله معتمدي فبدنياي وآخرتي يا رسول الله خذ
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. After praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and sending salutations, peace and blessings upon the best of creation, the jewel and crown of creation, the beloved of Allah Almighty, the coolness to our eyes, the purpose of our lives, the reviver of our hearts, the inspirer to our minds, the awakener of our souls, the most honored one, the most praised one, the most generous one, the most kind one. Undoubtedly, he is the most beautiful one. None other than Sayyiduna Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa barak wa sallam. Many of us go through different problems. Allah Almighty tests us in many different ways. And we see and we know that there are people around us who are at this current moment in time failing and struggling with these tests. And there are others who, on the apparent, it seems as though they are passing these tests. They are comfortable. But the reality is that amongst those tests that we are going through, that we are witnessing, we are experiencing, one of them, if you was to ask many of the people, not there. This is a pathway. If you go on either side over there, please. Nobody can pray in this area now. So if anyone comes and you see them, then just tell them, because I don't want to keep stopping my speech. And in between the markers. So jari jagah banti hai na khali uthe rakho. Bashkar vich aa. Just in between. Not on the hazardous line. Jazakumullah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina wa Mawlana Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina wa Mawlana Muhammad wa barik wa sallim. So Allah Jalla wa Ala tests us in many ways, and we see that Allah Jalla wa Ala has tested, and if you ask the people, majority of them in today's day and age, right now, aside from the most common ones, a lot of them will say that, Imam Sahib, I'm financially struggling. Finances and the struggle in finances is something which many, if not most of us, are experiencing. And if you ask someone, well, how much is enough wealth? He won't be able to answer. If he was to just on average look at the monthly expenses of an individual, monthly expenses, say he needs £2,000, and maybe at the end of the month he still doesn't save. He has a mortgage to pay, he has tuition fees to pay, he has bills, council tax, he has all sorts of expenses. Living in this country, there are wages that we earn that are taxed, that taxes we pay on, national insurance we pay on. When we factor all of this in, he will say even £2,000 a month is not enough. Somebody who is earning double that amount, 40,000, or triple that amount, £60,000 a year. And if you ask that individual, based on his lifestyle and expenditure, he will say, this is not enough for me either. If you ask somebody who earns £100,000 a year, his annual income is 100,000, and you say to him, well, what do you think? He will say, this is not enough for me. Why? Because my expenses, if you earn £100,000, then your car is going to be at least 50, 60, 70, 100,000. Then those cars that are worth that much have an engine size equivalent. 5.5, 6 litre maybe, or 4.5 litre. How much is his weekly petrol costs going to be? They're going to be triple the amount that we drive. Ours may be 40, 50, 60 pounds a week. Theirs will be maybe 100, 200 pounds. So when we look at it and we analyze it in this aspect, in this manner, we realize and we see that we are all going through difficult times. And if we was to ask that individual, it's never enough. Whatever we are earning is not enough. And when we look at the way things are, the society, the way people are moving, and with social media and the influence of everything around us, if our cousins are businessmen, if they are wealthy, we see their lifestyle, we want to embody and emulate that lifestyle. We see the celebrity lifestyle, the lifestyles that they live, and hey, you know what, I want to live this life as well. I want to see this. This is what I want to go through. This is what I want to experience. So we all want to feel this. And in order to feel this, there develops inside us this hub, this love for wealth, this desire for wealth. If you look at somebody who is, when we use this term, chasing after the dunya, he's working extremely hard. Where somebody works 8 hours a day, he's working 12 hours a day, 13 hours a day. Why? To make ends meet. He may not be working because he has a desire for wealth. He's possibly working because he needs to make ends meet. He's got children to feed. He's got a house to run. So he's working 12 hours for this reason. Then he wants to save some money so that tomorrow when his children get married, he can afford to marry them off. Today, weddings, minimum 15, 20, 25, 30,000 pound weddings. Minimum. And this is just a normal wedding. I'm not talking about hiring out supercars for the weekend that are costing 2,500, 3,000 pounds. No, none of this. I'm talking about just an average wedding where a hall, 5, 6, 7,000 gone. A food for people, maybe 7, 8, 9,000 pound bill for food. 15,000 just hall and food. You have guest list of 400 people, for example. You have 3 starters and different menu on. When you look at it, it's expensive. And if we study economics and finance, we will know that there's inflation as well. Over time, the last 30, 40 years, prices have inflated. House prices have inflated. The inflation in house prices and cars and all these commodities that we see, there's a steady inflation. Every year it inflates. Prices go up slightly. You know, whether it's 20%, 30%. Chocolate in my time, when we were young, we used to buy chocolate, it used to be 20p. 15p. Now, inflation, chocolate costs 75p, a pound. Cigarettes were how much back in 30 years ago? I'm not a smoker. 30 years ago, cigarettes were what, £1 a box? Now, maybe £7, I don't know, we don't smoke. Me and Ajsab don't smoke, but those who smoke will say, hey, you know what, I'm spending how much? £7.50 for what? A box of 10 cigarettes? £20, 15? £10, 20 cigarettes. £10 for 20 cigarettes. Yet, go back 30 years, it's inflation. Everything has inflated except our wages. Our wages are still where they are. We're still earning that amount. Now slowly it's increasing. Maybe in April, I think it goes up to minimum wage for those who are over 25 to, I think, £9 something an hour. Coming up to nearly £10 an hour. So we see, if we study and we see, most of us, maybe earning and maybe going through these difficulties in life, not because we desire wealth. We don't have a love for the dunya or the love for wealth that we do this. Yet there's others out there who have this mentality that I want to get rich or die trying. I want to get rich quickly. In order to get rich quickly, they will compromise principles. Principles their fathers had. We will not touch haram wealth. So they will compromise this principle of, I am not going near haram. So what will they do? They will start to gamble. They will start to deal drugs. They will start to involve in fraud and crime in order so that they can get rich quicker. And why are they trying to get rich quick? So that they look good. So that they can drive a fancy car. So that they can wear flash gowns and high brands. So that they can, so this is what they will do. They will try their utmost for this love of the dunya and the love of wealth. And Allah talks about this in the Quran. What did He say? He said, Al-malu wal-banun zinatul hayat al-dunya. Wealth and children, these are the adornments of this worldly life. Zinatul hayat al-dunya. Hayat al-dunya, worldly life. Zina means adornment. This is what it is. Our wealth and our children, this mal. And if we look at the word mal in the Arabic language, mala yamilu means to be inclined. Kisi cheez se mail hona, to be inclined towards. And Allah Almighty gave wealth or money the name mal in the Arabic language. Mal, when you say mal, what does mal mean? Aside from in our language drugs, mal means what? Mal means wealth. Money. And money is something that every human is inclined to. We are all in need of wealth. We are all in need of money. Why we are in need of money, I've just discussed. Some people need it to get through life. Others, they desire money. They want more money, more money, more money. And we know that more money creates more problems. This is why if you was to look at the life of a wealthy individual, somebody who has serious amount of wealth, the problems are serious as well. Children are suffering, car problems, house problems, family problems, women problems, hundreds of problems. Yet on the opposite end of the spectrum, if you was to look at an individual who is a faqir, and when I say faqir, I mean an individual who is getting through life. A faqir is an individual who doesn't have enough money, no savings, that he's entitled to zakat. Faqir is somebody who is entitled to zakat. He has no savings. He just makes ends meet and he lives. He eats once or twice a day. This is somebody who would be termed a faqir in jurisprudence. He doesn't own a house, nothing. He's just making ends meet. He's getting through life. If we look at the fuqara, the faqir, and those who choose to live a faqir life, those who choose to live a life where they give up everything for the sake of Allah, faqr. You see, if you study tasawwuf and the abwab in tasawwuf, there are chapters within tasawwuf, spirituality. One chapter is the chapter of faqr. Faqr, fa, qaf and ra. Faqiri meaning an individual who chooses to give up the luxuries of this worldly life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Such an individual, such a person who gives up for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that individual is azim fi hadratillah. In the presence of Allah Almighty, this man is huge. Why? He is not inclined, he is not mild to wealth. He is not inclined to land and property. He is not inclined towards cars and gams. He is not inclined to the dunya. His whole objective, he doesn't have the problems that a rich man has. Why? Because he's chose to live a life where I am content with what little I have. I am content with eating one meal a day. A guy who eats 4 times a day and a guy who eats 1 time a day, what's the difference? The food is going to go inside the stomach. A stomach which Allah has created for every human within them. Unless those who are unfortunate. So, an individual who, we have to look at this and analyze this and see this. Analyze and see this, and you will find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us all differently. And wealth, the word wealth, mal. Mala yamilu meaning to be inclined. And everyone is inclined in different ways, shapes or forms. We are inclined in many different ways to wealth. Al-malu wal-banoon zinatul hayatid dunya. Wealth and children are the adornment of this worldly life. This worldly life, it's an adornment. Ibrahim, you can move on the chairs. I don't think any more will be sitting on the chairs. Just move them forward. Zinatul hayatid dunya. It is the adornment of this worldly life. That's what this is. That's what wealth is, what children are. For the hereafter, the very same wealth that Allah has given us. Remember, Alif Lam Mim. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. Allah is saying, وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ, and from that which we have given them. We have provided you from yunfikun. They go and give back in the way of Allah. The truth and reality is, if we look at our bank balances, in our accounts, if we look at it and we analyze whatever wealth we have in there, in reality, this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah then has a right to this wealth. Allah Almighty has a right of a percentage to this wealth. And Allah Almighty has said that those who are less fortunate, whoever I have honored and blessed with wealth, they must part 2.5% of that surplus wealth to the poor and needy. Something which we call Zakat. And unfortunately, many of us don't know what Zakat is. We've heard of the term Zakat. We've read about Zakat, but we don't know what Zakat is. We don't understand how the rules and the law of Zakat works. And we do not realize that a lot of the success of a lot of the wealthy people out there, Muslim wealthy people, is due to the Zakat that they give to the poor. Is due to the Sadaqah that they give to the poor. I know a lot of wealthy people, they give Zakat every single year. I know brothers in South Africa who calculate the Zakat every single month. And every month they pay the Zakat. Not every year. Every month. And every month money comes where they can't imagine from. The businesses they have set up, etc. Being wealthy is not a bad thing. Being wealthy is not un-Islamic. For if I was to sit here and say, you being wealthy is wrong, then I have discredited Sayyidina Abu Bakr. I have discredited Sayyidina Uthman. I have discredited Sayyidina Abdurrahman bin Auf. I have discredited Sayyidina Khadijatul Kubra. Why? They were all wealthy. Allah honored them with immense amount of wealth. But what made them special and what made them exceptional from everyone else was that that very same wealth that they had, they gave in the way of Allah. They sacrificed. The day Sayyidina Abu Bakr became Muslim, he accepted Islam. He announced his Islam and Iman. It is said that in the morning he sacrificed 10,000 dirhams. He invested and gave in the way of Allah. In the evening, 10,000. During the day, 10,000, and during the night, 10,000. 40,000 dirhams he gave, sirran wa alaniyatan, in secret and in open. Laylan wa naharan, day and night. And Allah Almighty then revealed a verse of the Quran in His honor, that those who give their wealth in the way of Allah, secretly and openly, during the day and during the night. This was referring to Sayyidina Abu Bakr. He had so much money, he gave it to the Prophet ﷺ. And the Messenger of Allah ﷺ once said, ما نفعني مال قط إلا مال أبي بكر أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. Nobody's wealth benefited me. Nobody's money has benefited me more than the money of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. What he gave in Allah's way, in terms of wealth, nothing has benefited. When the Prophet ﷺ is saying, مَا نَفَعَنِي مَالٌ, wealth has not benefited me more than the wealth of Abu Bakr. When it says me here, it's referring to Islam. No wealth has benefited Islam more than the wealth of Sayyidina Abu Bakr that he gave to Islam. Right on the first day, he gave 40,000 dirhams. And remember, the earliest community, the earliest Muslims, they were poor. Sayyidina Bilal was poor, Sayyidina Ammar bin Yasir was poor, Sayyidina Abdullah bin Mas'ud was poor. They weren't wealthy. They were poor people who had accepted Islam. They were fuqara. But Sayyidina Abu Bakr was wealthy, Sayyidina Uthman was wealthy, and they would give. They would give in Allah's way. That very same wealth that is detestable at a certain point with certain intentions, that very same wealth is a reason for these men to go into Jannatul Firdaus, to enter paradise. Your money will make you or break you. That's the truth. Your money will make you or break you. So this very same money that you are hoarding and earning and you are spending on your family, spending money on your family is ajr. It is a sadaqah, it is a reward. Allah will give you ajr for this. It is better for you to spend on your families first before you spend on anyone else. It is a right of your wife that if you wear good clothes, that you make your wife wear good clothes. If you eat good food, you give your wife good food. It's a right of your children that if you live a good life, you give your children a good life. This is part of Islam. This is what Islam teaches us. Many of us, we carry this responsibility of our families to provide for them, for our children, for our loved ones, our parents even. So we must understand this responsibility. And then when the time comes that you have to calculate your wealth, and we must do this at least once a year, and the best time is to do it in Ramadan. So from one Ramadan to the other Ramadan, whatever you have earned, all your earnings, and take it out, all the expenditure take out. I have this much left over. The amount I have left over, it is more than 3,000 pounds, for example. I am sitting on 3,000 pounds savings. This is money that is after 1 year's expenditure. I am going to take 2.5% of this and I'm going to go and give it to the poor. I'm going to give it to the faqir and the miskin and the abir sabil, and I'm going to give it to those who are worthy of and entitled to zakat. That's what I'm going to do. This is how you would calculate your zakat. If you have gold sat there, you calculate it on the value of gold in that year. You give your zakat. When you give zakat, what have you done? You have purified your wealth. This is a purification of your wealth. And it's not just a purification of your wealth, it's a purification of your heart. Zakat means tazkiyatun nafs. You're cleaning your heart. Why? Because you are entitled money. Now you're going to give away. And if we look at the world's poverty, there are so many people that are poor around the world. It is said 70% of the world is poor. And 75% of the world's riches are in Arabia. The Arab world has 75% of the world's riches are with the Arabs. If all the Muslims that were entitled to give zakat gave zakat, and that zakat reached those people, charities did their job, then there would be no poverty on this earth. Everyone would be above the poverty line. And that's the reality, that's the truth. But something is going wrong within this system. We live in the West, we are taxed 20% on our income. We are taxed on, we pay capital gains tax on properties that we flip or we go and sell. There are so many taxes. But the tax that matters for a Muslim and a mu'min, not saying that this doesn't matter, the most important tax is that 2.5% that you give as zakat. When you give this, you will see barakah inside your lives. Understand the importance and the value of giving zakat. Work it out. If you don't know how to work your zakat, go and see the Maulana, go and see the Mufti. Sit with them and say, hey, look, this is what I have. This is how much land I own. This is how many properties I own. This is my business turnover. This is my income. Please work it out for me. How much will my zakat be this year? And then give it in Ramadan. Why? For he who gives zakat in Ramadan, who fulfills a fard in Ramadan, Allah will give him the ajr of fulfilling 70 fard in Ramadan. You do umrah in Ramadan, Allah will give you the ajr of a hajj. You read fards, you fast in Ramadan, Allah will give you the ajr of 70 fasts. One fast, 70. Do any one fard in Ramadan, Allah will multiply 70 times. This is why a lot of people say we give our zakat in Ramadan. Why? In Ramadan, I give my zakat, Allah will give me the ajr and equivalent of 70 zakats. It's a win-win situation. There's barakah in all of this. So this very same wealth that Allah talks about in the Quran, وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا أَمْوَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ فِتْنَةً. Know that your wealth and your children are a test. They're a trial from you, upon you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَأَمْدَدْنَاكُمْ بِأَمْوَالٍ وَبَنِينَ وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أَكْثَرَ نَفِيرًا الْمَالُ وَالْبَنُونَ زِينَةُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَالْبَاقِيَاتُ الصَّالِحَاتُ خَيْرٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّكَ وَالْبَاقِيَاتُ الصَّالِحَاتُ ulama write a dhikr. Dhikr, la ilaha illallah, la ilaha illallah. This is baqiyat, subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. Khayrun min indi rabbik. This is greater in the presence of your Lord. And there's more ajr in this. إنما أموالكم أولادكم فتنة وتحبون مالا وتحبون المال حبا جما. They love wealth, excessive wealth. Allah then says in the Quran in another verse, وَيْلٌ لِكُلِّ هُمَزَةٍ لُمَزَةٍ. Woe to every backbiter and slanderer. Yani Jahannam is for that person who backbites and slanders, who talks behind people's back. And then Allah Almighty said in the next verse, الَّذِي جَمَعَ مَالًا وَعَدَّدَ. He who gathers his wealth and counts his wealth. يَحْسَبُ أَنَّ مَالَهُ أَخْلَدَ. Then he thinks that I'm so rich that I'm going to live forever. That even wealth will save me from death. Wealth will not save you from death. Nothing can save you from the angel of death when your time has come. No money, no properties, no land, no cars, no children, no parents. Nothing can save you from that moment when you have to experience death. For every single thing that Allah has created must perish, must end. For everything that Allah has created must end. Allah said in the Quran, كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ ذُو الْجَلَالِ وَالْإِكْرَامِ. كُلُّ مَنْ عَلَيْهَا فَانٍ. Everything will perish. Everything He's created will be destroyed, will end. وَيَبْقَى وَجْهُ رَبِّكَ. And the majesty of your Lord will remain. Only Allah will remain. He is Al-Baqi. Subhanahu wa ta'ala Jalla wa ala. May Allah Jalla wa ala allow us to understand the importance of zakat. May Allah give us tawfiq to give zakat. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to purify our wealth and our iman. And to purify our hearts. And Allah give us tawfiq to act upon what has been said. وأقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم وآخر دعوايا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين.
يا إمام رسل يا سندي أنت باب الله معتمدي فبدنياي وآخرتي يا رسول الله